Hello everybody, welcome back to On the Bright Side. My name is Daniel and I'm watching FRIEREN? I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna guess FRIEREN. Beyond Journey's End. This is a new show. It entirely new, and I only just recently heard about it and really because I had someone that I know that we were hanging out and they picked up the manga and I was all like, oh, is that good? And then I looked into it, and it seems interesting. So there's already been a fair amount of episodes released, and I know the basic premise. It seems like it's going to be a emotional journey, so I'm excited. I hope you're all ready for an exciting fantasy adventure. Feels like it's been a while since I've watched a real fantasy anime. Because for the most part, most fantasy animes are all isekais, and I kind of just don't care about most of them. But this one intrigued me, especially when it was recommended along with To Your Eternity and Violet Evergarden. So, we'll see. If you guys are excited for FRIEREN, then you should do yourself a favor and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single reaction going forward. Let's begin. In 3, 2, 1, go! This is not the opening I was expecting. I thought it was Yaosobi. It really sounded like it, so there you go. I also forgot to mention that this is animated by Madhouse, which I haven't seen a Madhouse show since Sunny Boy. They're kind of not the huge studio that they once were, but Sunny Boy proved that they can make some still good-looking stuff, you know? So, I'm excited. How did you pronounce that? FRIEREN? I'll try to remember. Yeah, so this is the adventurer party that defeated the Demon King with. From what I understand, it's gonna be longer lives for some of you than others. It's given all the context. Very good. Alright, she does seem a little bit emotionless, which is always a good place to start with the character. Yeah, it's pretty unique to oh god. I was gonna say, it's pretty unique to set a story, you know, after the main conflict. But it makes sense because that main conflict has been used in anime and manga and video games for a long time. Fuck yeah! Yeah, so what's next for all you?
Himmelとアイゼンが王様にタメ口聞いて処刑されかけた。
Alright. I do love the design of this dwarf.
その点私は優秀。
ミミックに食われかけた時は置いてこうかと。
I saw that in the opening.
クソみたいな思い出しかないな。でも楽しかったよ。
短い
I like that. I like the history here.
短い？何を言ってるんだ
？10 years. Yeah. It's gonna be.
すっかりおっさんになってしまったぞ。
失礼ですよ。
It's gonna be interesting. Her perspective on time. I hope we don't get to them dying too soon.
50年に一度の流星群。
Oh. Okay, that's a marker of time.
ちょうどいいな。
50年後、もっと綺麗に見える場所知ってるから案内するよ。
You gotta survive 50 years. Why do I feel like that's unrealistic? They're parting ways now?
100年くらいは中央諸国を巡る予定だから、まあ、たまには顔を見せるよ。
Please do. Don't lose track of time.
50年も100年も彼女にとっては些細なものなのかもしれませんね。
Yeah, that's always been an interesting thing about elves. I enjoy stories that are realistic about characters that are essentially immortal and stuff. The animation's really pretty, by the way. The character animation has been really nice so far.
ヒンメルに預けたままだっけ？
なんか邪悪なオーラみたいなの出てるけど。
わかんない。
わかんないか。
Is it just got it anyway? It's nearly time. What does that mean, though? How long have you been gone? That could mean that you've been gone 20, 30, 40 years?
ヒンメル。 老いぼれてる。
You aged
50年ぶりだね。
like milk. Okay, so it has been 50 years.
懐かしいね。
Sorry,
ずっとタンスから邪悪なオーラが出ていた、ね。
なんかごめん。
I think.
放り込んでおいてくれ
Yeah.
どういうこと？
僕にとっては大切な仲間から預かった大事なものなんだ。
Alright. What are you summoning with that?
そんな大層なものじゃないんだけどな。
Oh, we have a lot of character development to go through. Statue view is all it's all oxidized. If it was once bronze or copper or something. About the rest of them. Why did he age so
随分
much?
感
The rest of them don't look that old.
アイゼンはあまり変わっていないね。
そうか、そう見えるか。
Dwarves also have like in fantasy usually have like relatively long lifespans. Not as long as elves, but longer than normal.
老人を酷使しよって。
She's older than you.
懐かしいよ。いろいろなところを旅したね。
I can tell this episode is can't fight these things like we used to. Never mind. Bonk. Jeez. All right, we got lasers. That's fun.
全員が揃うこの日を待ち望んでいたんだ。君のおかげで最後にとても楽しい冒険ができた。
Yeah. This is gonna be like emotional. Oh, the music so far has been good, fitting of good fantasy.
綺麗だ。
Oh God, it's the meteor from Your Name. Yeah. Yeah, I expected this. Did he pass away that night, or
ヒンメルは幸せだったと思いますよ。
I want to know how she feels about this. That's gonna be the thing about this show. Her feelings.
白状だね。
私たちもしていませんよ。市長は真面目にやれ。この白状者。
We were with our friend in the end. Yeah, this show's definitely taken a slow, emotional approach. I like it.
この人のこと何も知らないし。
Yeah. Ooh. This is bringing back some memories of my own. Because, you know, I sorry, I'm getting emotional. Because, during, like, my grandfather's funeral, I had the same kind of, like, feeling when he was being buried and, you know, the dirt was covering the coffin. It felt very final, like that was it. There was no chance to learn more about him. It's a good message. I think I already understand. You should make sure the people who you care about know that you care about them, and you should learn about them while you still can. Already getting teary-eyed. That bodes poorly. Let's get back into it.
分かっていたのに。
Yeah, it's her perspective
なんで
is
もっと知ろうと思わなかったんだろう。
it's a big thing why funeral scenes get me, because like I've experienced
顔をよ
that.
く見せ、これで最後になるでしょうからね。
Don't say
長
that.
年の酒がたたりましてね。
My liver is gone. The holy city.
ハイ
We have
タ
to
ーを
make
死
that
ぬ
a-
のが
a
怖
goal.
くないの。
死後は天国で贅沢三昧に決まっています。あなた方と共に戦ったのです。
生臭坊主。
To get into heaven. Well, if we're gonna have more friends die this episode, you don't want to stick around after
魔
that?
法集
私はもっと人間を知ろうと思う。
もう斧を触れるような年じゃないんだ。
じゃあまたね、アイゼン。
あ、また。
Damn. It's also like something that we'll all experience someday. Like our friends will get old, they'll drift apart, they'll pass away. It's a hard part of life that no one doesn't experience. So, unless I guess you're the first to pass away. It's not funny. I'm sorry.
この森いつも迷うな。
The Lost Woods.
どこだ
Da, 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 da. 20 years. This is the girl in the opening.
ハイターって人の家を探しているんだけど。
ではお客様でございますね。
You know it.
まだ生きてたんだ、生臭坊主。
Oh, he lived. He lived.
一杯やる？
酒はもうやめたんです。
Who is this child? Explain. I imagine an orphan of some sort. Is this your way of atoning?
フェルンと言います。
Fern.
南側諸国の繊細孤児でした。
Yep.
ヒンメルじゃあるまいし。
People change.
それにハイターにはたくさん借りがあるから死なれる前に返しに来た。
では一つ
Very blunt, but
弟子を取りませんか。
this is basically what the other thing I knew
連
is
れて行っ
that
てくれませんか。
these two are gonna go on an adventure.
実戦での見習い魔法使いの死亡率は知ってるでしょ。
では別の頼みを。賢者エービヒの墓所から出土したものです。不死の魔法が記されていると
Jeez,
されています。
intense spells.
解読をお願いしたいのです。できます。
Sounds like a quest.
まあ5、6年もあれば。
そうですか。
死ぬのは怖くないんじゃなかったの？
一つはあなたたちの手前格好をつけていたから。
Everyone's
もう
afraid
一
of
つは
dying.
前より死ぬのが怖くなったから。
Not even people who believe in
解読
heaven
の
are
片手間で
really
構わないので
unafraid to
フ
die.
ェルンに魔法を教えてあげてはくれませんか。私は僧侶な
I
の
would
で
be surprised.
どうも
そのくらいなら。
I love her earrings are always moving.
やっぱり。
With her red bow, she reminds me of like Sakura from Fate.
あれはね。
No, right? Did you
こ
do
の
it?
ように魔力が離散してしまい、
That
なる
was
ほどね。
impressive though.
魔法は好き。
ほどほどでございます。
Somewhat.
私と同じだ。
Interesting. Alright, so that was FRIEREN. 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 Admittedly is kind of silent. Episode 1. I want to hop into the next episode, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm setting off to watch like 5 anime at a time right now. I'm really trying to pace myself so I don't burn myself out. Editing these videos takes a while. The whole process of watching and editing is multiple hours, so. But I am highly considering binging the first 4 episodes. I think that should show you how much I enjoyed this. I can definitely tell that they were kind of meant to be watched close together. Let's talk about this episode. My first impressions are that it is taking... So I've talked about how, like, we don't often get stories that take place after, like, the main quest ends, for multiple reasons. You know, usually we follow the human characters of some, and who, when the main quest ends, they just live happily ever after. But for an elf who a human's happily ever after is a blip in time, it's different. So that in and of itself is unique. But it's also a good idea because, you know, I was talking about how these kinds of stories, you know, they're pretty played out. It's hard to make like a fantasy manga unique in Japan, I feel, because like there's just so many fantasies that are like the same kind of stuff. I haven't really watched any isekais on this channel because I've kind of grown out of them. I just got tired of seeing the same kind of thing over and over. So if I'm being honest, one of the main reasons that this show passed me by initially was that I looked at it and I saw a kind of generic looking fantasy show. At least from the promo image. Now that's judging a book by its cover, but like, I've watched enough anime at this point that 9 times out of 10, me judging a book by its cover is kind of correct. Listen, there's only a handful of isekais that I actually enjoy, and even those vary, really. Like, I'm really into ReZero. I think Saga Tanya the Evil is great. Those are kind of where it kind of ends for like ones that I actually think are like pretty excellent. I think Konosuba's funny, and I like that time I was reincarnated as a slime enough. No Game No Life was like one of the first isekais I ever watched and one of the first anime I watched, so that's kind of foundational for me. But like, I've just watched less and less as time has gone on because the fantasy genre is like famously tropey in anime and manga specifically. It's like, you know what I mean, right? Like 9 times out of 10 you'll get an isekai that's about a guy who like didn't live up to his potential in the previous world, so he comes to this world and now he's a babe magnet. You know, those are obviously the most bottom of the barrel, and And I think it's I honestly a little bit irresponsible to, like... I've gotten to a point in watching anime, it didn't used to be like this, but I've gotten to the point being like, I think it's irresponsible, a lot of like harem shows, to be like, all you need to have a harem of girls is be a good person. Like, that's not all you need. That's like false promises. That sets young men up to be like, I'm a good guy, you know, those kind of people. Where's my harem? I'm talking too much about the fantasy genre at large, but what I'm getting at is this is different. I can tell that this is different. It is not focused on any of the... It's not a tropey, wish fulfillment fantasy type stuff. It's actually focused on human relationships, which I've gone into the past. Relationships are like the bread and butter of any story. It's how characters interact with each other. It's what's kind of like most important to making like a good story. Yeah, you can get by with like an interesting plot if it's like really unique, but you can elevate any story with the characters, with interesting characters. And I find I'm gonna need to learn a bit more about these characters to really make a definitive statement on how I feel about them. But Frieren, she showed some interesting traits. She definitely comes across as a character who needs growing, and unfortunately she kind of needed that before her friend died. That was an emotional scene with the funeral. I think that was well done. The animation has been pretty, mostly character animation, but honestly, that I love that kind of stuff. So Madhouse still shows that it does still got it, you know. It just doesn't have the same staff that it used to. Madhouse used to be like the biggest and the best animation studio. It's interesting to see where they're at now. They choose interesting projects. Although they do still cling on to Overlord, you know, to make money. Which Overlord is one of the isekai that I'm not really that big of a fan of. Crucify me in the comments. Do it. I don't have a whole lot to say about this episode really in particular, because it's pretty clear to me that it's meant to be set up for a lot of things, but I think it was properly slow burn, emotional. I like these types of shows, so I hope you guys tune into my reactions, because if, you know, this episode has a scene that gets me emotionally, you know, what else is going to get me in the future? I know that the main journey is us going on an adventure with this girl, this young girl who can use magic, Fern, and that's going to be really interesting. So, like, another one of my favorite fantasy anime is Somali and the Forest Spirit. Very underrated, I feel, which is about, you know, kind of going on an adventure with a young girl. So I'm just like, is this another Somali? I love stories that are about, like, learning from youth. Who knows what Frieren really experienced in her youth. I'm actually thinking about Somali and the Forest Spirit. You know, the golem in that is really long-lived, so it's really similar to this show. So I'm looking forward to more of the show. I imagine that this is not going to be, like, too crazy of a series, but if the episodes are going to be like this thoughtful in the future, then I'm gonna have fun with it. So I hope you all join me. You know, if you liked my reaction to the first episode, then you can let me know by leaving a like, and you can comment. You can tell me what you thought about the episode. I'd love to have a discussion. And you can subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single FRIEREN episode going forward. Anyway, I hope that I can make your day better, and I hope that you continue to have good days. Until next time, take it easy, everyone.